To the members of the Mayoral Committee, Deputy Executive Mayor, MMCs, the chairpersons of Section 79 committees, together with the leaders of the parties in our coalition. Want to thank you as the members of the media for being here so early today. We know that it's a bit early, especially if you're navigating from outside the city. However, we needed to have this conversation before we enter into council, so we truly appreciate that you are here on time. Ladies and gentlemen, when we took office, we found a city in serious trouble. The problems were not isolated and they were not accidental. They were the results of years of weak controls, poor financial discipline, ballooning debt, and a culture in which there were too few consequences for failure and wrongdoing. Successive unfunded budgets, rising debt, growing reliance on contracted services, and weak internal controls had combined to leave the institution exposed and unstable. The Auditor General had repeatedly warned about exactly these kind of failures: poor consequence management, weak oversight, and a failure to act when public money is misused. That is the environment that we inherited in the city of Tshwane in October 2024. This is why the issues now surfacing before the Madlanga Commission do not come as a shock to us. They are a consequence of the same pattern of institutional weakness we identified when we took office. Long before these matters entered the public spotlight, we had already begun confronting the underlying governance failures that made them possible. In 2024-2025 financial year alone, we completed 146 investigations on the allegations that vary between fraud, misuse of public funds, corruption, etc. We state categorically that these problems were inherited, but ignoring them was never an option for this multi-party coalition government. Since taking office, we have been working tirelessly to restore controls, strengthen oversight, enforce accountability, and rebuild a culture of consequence management across the city. We are not dealing with a sudden crisis, ladies and gentlemen. We are dealing with the accumulated damage of years of good governance, of poor governance, my apologies. Our task is to fix it, and that is exactly what we are doing. On behalf of the Mayoral Committee, I would like to commend the Madlanga Commission for its firm and uncompromising work in advancing accountability and transparency in South Africa. Its impact reaches far beyond its terms of reference and speaks directly to the kind of ethical, capable, and responsive state our people demand and deserve. Let me be clear, the Commission's recommendations will not be ignored in the city of Tshwane or reduced to a box-ticking exercise. They will be taken seriously, acted upon decisively, and used to drive real reform where it is needed, because we are determined to restore public trust, strengthen our institutions, and ensure that no one is above accountability. There will be no holy cows when it comes to the implementation of the Madlanga recommendations. We'll consider its findings once its work is concluded, and will implement its recommendations where appropriate. But in the meantime, we did not wait. It is within the spirit that the following actions have already been taken in the past 7 days. Following allegations made at the Madlanga Commission, I placed the MMC for Corporate and Shared Services, Councillor Khulufelo Morodi, on special leave, and we are currently considering the representations she's made last night. We need to determine if there is a case for which she has to answer before taking further steps. In the meantime, the TMPD Deputy Commissioner Umashi Dlamini is on leave, and this will allow for a fair and uninterrupted investigation, which is a step that protects the integrity of both internal processes and the work of the Commission. In respect of the Chief Financial Officer, Mr. Gareth Mnisi, a disciplinary report is being tabled before today's council meeting to initiate a process for his precautionary suspension. Given the central role of his office, the matter is being handled in a manner that safeguards the city's financial systems and maintains public confidence. However, it's important that we note that Mr. Mnisi has been home the whole week. He hasn't been to work. In the finance department, a formal complaint relating to an alleged 1.5 million refund fraud has already led to 27 active suspensions. Several of these matters are long-running disciplinary cases with the criminal aspects now before the Specialized Commercial Crimes Court. A similar approach is being applied to the recruitment of the 200 Tshwane Metropolis Department cadets. While this matter has been referenced at the Madlanga Commission, concerns were raised in the city as early as February, and an investigation is already initiated in this regard. We therefore welcome the work of the Madlanga Commission, and we will act on its findings, and will continue to act firmly and without hesitation wherever wrongdoing is established. We also note, ladies and gentlemen, the ongoing public interest in the matters relating to Traumatic Protection Services and the Deputy Executive Mayor. We have previously reported that the report has served in council, an ad hoc committee has been established, and what is now, the process is currently under consideration by council. So that is as far as the traumatic security services are concerned. Ladies and gentlemen, there is a long case of the Rooiwal 5. We have recently received an outcome from the Labour Court, where the Labour Court has set aside the outcomes of the previous disciplinary process and has ordered that the matter be heard before an objective chairperson. This is a significant outcome for us, ladies and gentlemen. It confirms that the earlier process was irregular and could not be sustained in law. It also affirms that the city acted correctly in approaching the court to protect the integrity of the process. We will now proceed with a fresh disciplinary process that is properly constituted, independent and supported by strengthened evidence, including the work of the SIU. Ladies and gentlemen, there is a case of the 777 million myth that we debunked, and it's refusing to die. From issues of individual accountability, we obviously have to deal with the systematic risks, particularly in relation to the water tanker contracts. These matters point to weaknesses in procurement controls and in expenditure management. The city is taking corrective action by strengthening internal controls and verifying tanker deployment. We continue to say the widely circulated 777 million figure is incorrect and misleading. It is based on procurement data that includes purchase orders that were not processed, cancelled, or duplicated. I would like to repeat this, ladies and gentlemen. The actual expenditure for 2024-2025 was 621 million rands, including 179 million incurred in the previous financial year. When aligned to the year in which it was incurred, the figure for 2024-2025 is 441 million. Of this, approximately 342 million is attributable to this current administration. Therefore, claims of a 500% increase are not supported by the facts. The city has provided a full and verified breakdown of expenditure. But we said this, even the amount of 621 million rand is too high. We don't see value for money. Therefore, we have taken drastic measures, including changing in which we deal with water tanker deployment. We have centralized that function, and we have made sure that we reduce reliance on water tankers. Since that exercise, which has been the past few months, we have realized savings of approximately 12 million rand per month. But we didn't stop there. We are investing in our own fleet. As we speak, we have 40 tankers that are now ready to go and distribute water to areas that were previously serviced by the contracted services. We added 15 million rand during the adjustment budget to increase the number of those tankers, because in the short term, we will still need tankers. What we are saying, we do not want those tankers to be the contracted service tankers. After years of unfunded budgets, with the last funded budget being tabled in 2022, today this administration is tabling a second funded budget. This progress is already yielding results. In January, National Treasury recognized our improved capital expenditure performance and awarded the city an additional 341.7 million through the Urban Development Financing Grant, which has been allocated towards water and electricity infrastructure in the adjustment budget approved last month. This took our capital expenditure from 2.4 to 2.7 billion during the adjustment budget. There is a deliberate shift that we will see from this administration where we want to invest in our infrastructure and strengthen long-term service delivery capacity. The 2026-2027 budget that we are tabling today is building on the work that we've already done during the adjustment budget. It reflects a deliberate shift in how the city manages risks by reducing operating expenditure, cutting back on contracted services, and redirecting resources towards capital investment and building our own internal capacity. You will see that in the budget, the capital budget is now set at 2.8 billion rand, which is an increase of 14.2% from the budget of the previous financial year. We have made a decision to increase the capital budget in the next financial year in the MTREF to 3.5 billion rands. This represents a 700 million year-on-year increase, which is equivalent to 25% rise in capital investment without borrowing. This is important, ladies and gentlemen, because in 2019 and 2020, the capital budget of the city was over 4 billion rand, and it is incumbent on us to make sure that we again increase the capital budget beyond what it was about 6-7 years ago. We need to ensure that expenditure goes down, especially on contracted services. In the budget that we are tabling, water tankering has been reduced by 79%. So what we are proposing is 126.7 million rand on water tankering. And this is purely for emergency services where our own water tankers will not do. We understand we are still vulnerable in terms of our infrastructure. On the security-related contracted services, we so far reduced it by 17%. We're gonna further reduce there because we have an intention to do less with the watchman services that are so famous at the Madlanga Commission, and making sure that we empower our own TMPD, that we increase the number of security guards that we have. We need to in-source more. Overall, when it comes to the contracted services, in the draft budget, we have reduced by 4.4%, while we are increasing our capital budget by over 14%. At the same time, we're not reducing for the sake of reducing, ladies and gentlemen. The funds previously allocated to these outsourced services are being redirected to build internal capacity. 110 million is being redirected to the acquisition of municipal tankers, pipe replacement, and water systems upgrades. 55 million is being redirected to city-owned trucks and improved waste management systems in the waste department. 22.4 million is being redirected to internal machinery, including road maintenance and equipment. For the first time, this city, in addition to the 2 jet patchers we're going to add to our fleet of 2 jet patchers that we procured this year, we will have our own road resurfacing equipment out of this budget. The 104 million that we reduced from the watchman services is going to be redirected to structured asset protection, including the real-time crime control center and uniform for the asset protection officers. It is a shame that in 2026, a capital city doesn't have this kind of equipment. We went further to say we will use the budget that was previously used for watchman services to make sure that the officers that we have are empowered, That means our TMPD officers must have body cameras. They have all the equipment that will allow them to do the work. We'll make sure that the specialized units that we have in the city are empowered. We have the drug unit, we've got the information gathering unit, we've got the cable theft unit, and we've got the K9 unit. And those units must be empowered so that it replaces this need to want to privatize our TMPD. Therefore, when you look at our expenditure, it goes down on contracted services. Where does it go up? You will see that in this draft budget, 130.5 million is being invested in fleet acquisition, as I said, and we'll see those water tankers, the waste trucks, as well as energy vehicles. 163.3 million is allocated for bulk water provision. 158.9 million is allocated for wastewater treatment upgrades. 120 million is allocated for water demand management, and 101 million is allocated for pipe replacement. At the core of this approach is a simple principle. Reducing reliance on outsourced services lowers risk while building internal capacity and strengthening accountability. Beyond immediate actions, we are implementing structural reforms to reduce risk, limit discretion, and strengthen accountability across the city's operations. From 1st of July 2026, supply chain management in the city of Tshwane will be 100% digital. The Ariba system is an automated system that standardizes procurement processes, reduces the reliance on manual intervention, and limits opportunities for corruption. By embedding controls within the system itself, it increases transparency, improves efficiency, and ensures that decisions are traceable and consistent. Long are the days where we have officials who remove pages from supply chain documents. Probity checks on high-risk tenders introduce an immediate layer of independent oversight. We took an interest on one probity matter. While the law says we can't interfere with procurement processes as politicians, but we took an interest on the security tender that we advertised last year. It got cancelled and was re-advertised again. When we looked at the reason why it was cancelled is because we got the briefing on the outcomes of the probity process, where there was so much manipulation, it was criminal. And therefore, we will continue with the probity checks. But it seems we will need to have another oversight on the probity itself, because it doesn't seem that it's delivering on the desirable results. But the probity checks, they will continue. In the case of the security tender, the probity processes identified procedural flaws in advance, and it allowed us as the city to correct them before the contracts were awarded, and therefore we're now waiting for the process to continue on the contract or the tender that was cancelled. Ladies and gentlemen, these measures shift accountability from individuals to systems, creating a more structured, transparent, and resilient institution that is less vulnerable to manipulation. The City of Tshwane leadership, in the form of this MECO, has decided and committed that ours is to serve the residents of Tshwane and no one else. And therefore, when there is a sign of wrongdoing, we'll act decisively, transparently, and with discipline. We will do so by addressing these inherited weaknesses in the system and processes. We will stabilize governance, we will rebuild public confidence, and we will restore this institution to what it used to be. Where wrongdoing is established, we will confront it, and where there are gaps in our systems and controls, as guided by the AG, these will be corrected. And the work of the Consequence Management Committee continues to ensure that we hold those who are doing wrong to this institution accountable. Our responsibility is only to the residents of Tshwane. Every step we take is focused on ensuring that the city is capable, accountable and resilient, both now and into the future. Thank you so much.
All right, now we know the rules. I will take a couple of rounds, so please guard the time. I would like to get them out at least by 5 to 10. I'll take the first round of 3 questions. Announce yourself, your name, which media house you represent, and to whom you are directing the question. There are lots of people up here, so tell us who you don't direct the question. So with that said, I'll start here, and then you, Patricia, and then Antoinette Slavitt. Let's take those first 3.
Anastasia Mpobu for Jacaranda FM News.
So name?
Anastasia.
Oh, Anastasia. Okay.
Jacaranda FM. Mayor, just on the issue of, I know you spoke about it, the Childhood Protection Services. Perhaps there's an expectation that it should be held the same way you dealt with the MMC by making sure that she's not on duty when this matter is being dealt with. I'm asking because it came again at the Madlanga Commission on Friday, and there's still some issues in terms of how it was dealt with and what's coming out of the forensic report. Can you just give us an understanding of why is the Deputy Mayor still on duty while this matter is being dealt with?
Patricia?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Patricia Psachi from the SAPC. My question links on to hers. To the Deputy Mayor, you've seen the reports, whether true or not, that allege that you're pocketing about 3 million rands per month linked to certain tenders in the city. Your response to some of these reports and allegations that you are actually doing business with the state. To the Mayor, there are allegations that because of the multi-party coalition, the power sharing with the ANC, you are actually scared to make a move. You are scared to obviously, break the marriage, and you are not acting on the Deputy Mayor. You're not putting him to the same scrutiny and standards as you did with Blufel and Mugodi. How do you respond to that?
Good morning, Dr. Moya. I think it's Slavitt from Mayoral. There's a rumor that Mr. Mnisi has resigned. Is that true or not? And then the allegations against him that were to serve at the special council meeting on, I think it was the 4th of March. Is that coming back to council and when? And then just lastly, in the new budget, what are the tariff increases that you propose?
Thank you very much. Let me respond to those that are directly to me. Anastasia, on the Triotic Protection Services, perhaps it's important that I put context. I resigned immediately when I became a councillor. It's crystal clear, and we have provided evidence, and the declarations are there, and they've been proven. And perhaps it's important that you know that this is a political gimmick, that is a campaign towards the 20 local government elections. But I don't want to protect the executive mayor, but I want to remind you, because it would appear you, from time to time, forget what happened. They approached the mayor actually aggressively to institute forensic, which he did, and I myself cooperated. And the outcome are crystal clear. There were no irregularities, there were no corruptions, and none of the findings are saying I did any wrong. The only thing that the council is attending to is the conduct of councillors. And the ad hoc committee have been established, and I'm cooperating, and I will ensure that I respond appropriately to all the questions that they need. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I think the first one, Anastasia, let me go question by question. So the cases are different. So the case of the Deputy Executive Mayor, already we had dealt with it as council, where, as he says, when the issue came up, we ordered an investigation. That investigation went to council. An ad hoc committee was established. And now what we are waiting for is then the direction of the speaker, a directive from the speaker in terms of how we're going to process the report. The investigation report is there. So that part was already dealt with. In terms of MMC Morodi, of course, the Madlanga Commission also, it gives a different, I don't know how to call it, but it's not pressure per se, but it's that platform that if something is mentioned there already, and then you have a public representative that has a stain, you can't then ask this public representative to continue with their work as if nothing has happened. So when it comes to MMC Morodi, at the time when I was looking for answers whether we'll be able to respond to the public interest on the matter, she was not in a position to provide that because the mother is in hospital, and I knew that there were issues that she was dealing with. It was then easy to say to her, please get home, but give us the answers. And she has submitted her presentation last night, and we now need to apply ourselves in terms of, is there prima facie evidence that we need to act on in terms of the relationship that she has with Sergeant Nkosi. So that was a different matter on this one, because it would not have helped to keep her in the system while we don't have answers at the same time, and she's unable to provide those answers because of the personal issues that she was dealing with at the time. Then the issue of the coalition, I think I can speak for this coalition, Patricia. We're not in this coalition to serve our personal interest. We're not in this coalition to enrich ourselves. And therefore, there is no position of the coalition that I represent that some of us are untouchable because we are scared that the coalition will collapse. So as we said, the issue of the Deputy Executive Mayor, because it was already dealt with through the council processes, there was no need to double until we then see the process through, which is what we committed on. But if any of us are found to be on the wrong, and that means the coalition will end, then the coalition will end if acting on such will lead to the collapse of the coalition. We do have a responsibility to the people of Tshwane that we want to restore this institution. Restoring institution, you can't do it by doing wrong things. So there's no fear that we can't act on one of us because the coalition will collapse. Antoinette, I haven't heard about the resignation unless it came maybe a few minutes before we came here. Even if he has done so, it doesn't mean the story ends. The story continues, life continues, and we will ensure that we follow up on the allegations that are raised at the Madlanga Commission. And when the recommendations are submitted and they are in relation to him, we will obviously act on those as well. Just because a person has resigned doesn't mean that your sins get wiped off. It doesn't work that way. But I don't know about that. In terms of the two reports, yes, we asked for a special council meeting on the 4th of March, if I'm not mistaken. And we had a report, but we needed additional information, and we asked council for indulgence. Both reports are going back today. They will be considered in committee. But you would know that the first one was in relation to the allegations that were brought by the African National Congress Tshwane region, and the other one by Councillor Lex Middleburg. So that was the first one. The second one that we are tabling today, where we are even asking for precautionary suspension, is in relation to the allegations that are raised at the Madlanga Commission specifically. But it doesn't end there. As we said, we also respond to what gets mentioned at the Madlanga Commission. We don't wait for the recommendations because we know we're not only dealing with individuals, we're dealing with the collapsed systems here. So the systems of corruption that we have identified in other departments, where when we talk about the 146 investigation only in 1 year, that should worry all of us. And you know the number of officials that have been arrested in the previous year just alone. And to have 27 suspension just in one department on one investigation. So when we say we've inherited a broken city, people say we are politicking. No, this is exactly what we mean by it. But in those, the tariff increases, we'll read them out. So for property rates, we are looking for 5%. Electricity, 8.8%, which is below the NERSA granted one. Water, it's 10%. Sanitation, 5%. Refuse removal is 4.1%. Thank you.
Even water is below. The water is below as well.
Let's take the second round of questions. We'll start with the lady in the glasses down there, sleeve in the green, and then yourself, sir.
From Tower FM News. Prior to what came out at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry, in relation to the CFO, had the city initiated its own investigation, given that the ANC had actually made several allegations against Mnisi?
Sleeve.
Slenda Lusibacha from ENCA. I'd like to get a response from the EFF councillors that are here with regards to these lists that were sent to Mnisi. What are you guys doing internally, if anything at all? Do you know who was earmarked for these tenders? Thank you.
Go ahead.
Written from Netwerk 24.
Sorry, your name?
Brighton.
Brayton.
I have two questions. The first being, I know Mr. Spies testified that when he walks into meetings, he's sort of being there's a victimization that's taking place, being called Madlanga Commission, all of these things. What's being done to protect whistleblowers? And then the second is directed to the Deputy Mayor. So, Deputy Mayor, did the company, because your answer is very vague, if you can just give us more context. Did the company get 3 million rand per month? Is the company still getting 3 million rand per month from the city of Tshwane? Thank you so much.
I wish I could speak on behalf of the EFF. Yeah, no. Lerato, in terms of the CFO, I think the mayor have tried to respond to that. We did conduct investigations. That is why the matter was brought to council, the last council meeting on the 4th, and we are still proceeding with that. The Spies issue, we just noticed it in Madlanga. Spies sits here in this seat that I'm occupying in Mako, and he was never at any given time dealt with as a victim. We normally protect our officials, and he enjoys being part of the Mako. The issue of the contract with the city came as a result of the court order, and then it lapsed in February 2024, and it was extended. So the Triotic is part of those that are extended. So I'm not part of Triotic anymore. I can't speak on behalf of Triotic, but the contract is still ongoing. And actually, we fought with the officials here in this meeting that why are they extending the contract ourselves here, the entire executive. Thank you very much.
Bring your own chair. No, thank you very much, colleagues. Let me start also adding on I have a bit of a flu, I'm sorry about that. On the Spies, I even forget the name. On the Mr. Spies issue, I agree that he sits here, and what is worrying is that there was never an issue that was raised with the MECO, never, unless if it was the MECO that I haven't attended. But with that being said, we won't victimize the whistleblowers, but we also promote that if there are officials of the city who have issues that are happening in this institution, they must raise it within the institution before they can go out. They must have confidence to this institution, because we have done that before, where there were issues and officials reported them, and there were action that have been taken to this time. The list, I don't know. It's just that maybe when the name EFF comes, people just get excited. We thought that the commission will ask the guy who speaks about the list that where did you get the list? Simple. If you got it from Obakeng, show us. If you got it from president of the EFF, show us. According to us, there's no leader of the EFF who have sent the list to anyone. And we are challenging anyone who have evidence of a leader of the EFF who have sent the list to bring it on the table. The guy who was testifying speaks about a municipality called Matthew Posa. He speaks about many issues there that I personally don't agree with. But because it's EFF, you must agree, even there are no facts, there's no evidence. People goes around. Actually, at some point, there were allegations in the procurement that people will go around and say, give me this tender, we are representing the ANC, we are representing the EFF, we are representing Action SA. Action SA is mentioned there, and I'm glad that I saw they've written a letter to Madlanga to ask the CFO who gave you the list. We are also challenging the CFO, which leaders of the EFF that does the CFO speaks about that he have met. We've never met and discussed the list. Clear. We don't know anything. We know that we are suspects number one. And we are happy that we are not part. People are bothered that we are not part. They thought we were going to be the first. We don't have companies, nothing that you can get from us. You can try and go around, try to find the EFF in this thing. We are not part. We are supporting this budget. Insourcing of security guards was done by us in 2016. You forgot. 1,300 was insourced by the EFF, dealing with the DA to say, we vote with you, you insource security guards, and it was done. We are now approaching the second phase, and we are going to make sure that it happens. Part of our vote to this coalition is to say, as partners, how do we insource security guards during this financial year? So you don't bother to look for the red overall. You won't get it in that Madlanga. I promise you. And we want to put it here, if any leader of the EFF here in Tshwane is mentioned with allegations of corruption anywhere, that leader won't wait for you, will leave the same time that allegation is raised. That's how the EFF is. You don't wait for anything. When you see that you are compromised, you go and clear your name, you will come back when you are clean. Thank you.
Yeah, we should have given you a mic to drop at some point. Even if it's a repeat, please indulge us so I also respond. Lerato, it's been a while. The first one, in terms of the investigation, as I said, there was a press conference by the ANC leadership in the region. And after that, then they wrote officially to the city manager. At the same time that they were writing to the city manager, Councillor Lex Middleburg also submitted his allegations against the CFO. In terms of the legislation, we are required that within 7 days, when there's an allegation against a senior manager, those that are reporting to council, we must take that allegation to council for two reasons. One, to advise council or for council to decide whether to dismiss the allegations or to investigate if we believe there's a reasonable cause to that an act of misconduct has been conducted. And so that's what happened. That's the report that we drafted, and we asked for the special counsel. It was granted. We were in council. When we were looking at the contents, because there's also something that while we want to deal with corruption, want to deal with everything, but we also need to do due diligence. So we don't end up victimizing people and we act on half-baked information. So we then asked council to indulge us to go and verify a few things, because some of the information that was raised, particularly by Councillor Middleburg, it was outside the city. It was outside the city. For instance, National Treasury was mentioned. So obviously we had to go to those bodies to verify. But that was when we attended to the allegations that were brought, which were the first ones that were brought against the CFO. In terms of SLE, I know it was to the EFF, but I see various political parties also writing to Madlanga, Action SA being one of them. We understand that one of the good things that are going to come out of the Madlanga Commission is that the standard in which we are judged by, especially as public representatives, has skyrocketed. So you don't wait until, say, no, we'll wait for the recommendations. Even when the information comes up, we do respond in the various parts. I have personally written to the Commission to say, we are processing the report, taking it to council about the CFO, but I don't have all the documents, all the facts. Can you please finish us so that as the council, if the council agree to investigate, that we can be empowered with that information to form part of the investigation. So as these things come out, we do have a relationship that now we are establishing with the Commission to say, we can't afford to wait for the end of the process or the recommendations. When something is being raised, can we please be empowered so that we can start acting on them as well? In terms of Deputy Commissioner Spies, he has not brought any issues to us as the MECO. Definitely not to me, even via the accounting officer that he's being victimized. But if he is being victimized, it's our responsibility to protect him so that the next person who wants to be a whistleblower doesn't feel that this administration doesn't appreciate people who choose to do the right thing, however they see that right thing. So for us, we don't have issues with whistleblowing. In fact, most of the work that we do on investigation, they are informed by whistleblowers, and we will have to do better if indeed that's what happened to him. But I just want to make a point in terms of the information that Mr. Spies presented at the Madlanga Commission, and we reflected on this yesterday as the MECO. The same department came here and told us and convinced us that we must spend 559 million rand on the same line item that he was presenting on there. Why?
And he was leading it.
Yes. And we reflected on this to say, you see, sometimes there is misleading even to us, who must be advised by the same people. How do you tell us to go and spend 559 million of people of Tswane's money on a line item that is so rotten? We push back. And we said we're going to cut down watchman services to the bone, over 50%. And we're not going to keep feeding the beast. Now, when we then engage with the information that comes from the Madlanga Commission, we need to balance it with the work that we're already doing in the institution. Because imagine if I were to go to the people of Tshwane with the Mayoral Committee to say, even though those issues were raised at Madlanga, we're still feeding the beast with 559 million rands. So the 17% reduction on watchman service is just the beginning, because they were not prepared as a department to tell us, we're going to cut the money. What will you use it on to build TMPD that will serve the people of Tshwane? I just wanted to make that also we're just balancing what is being said at the Madlanga Commission. We balance it with the work and the decisions that we are making as the institution.
Cool. Last round, and then a couple of minutes for those that want one-on-ones, and then the politicians have to go to council. Go ahead, Alpha, and then Patricia, you want to say goodbye to the cherry? Okay, cool, thanks. Okay, cool, and we close it there. Thanks, folks.
Good morning, it's Alpha from Shronek here from Eyewitness News. Deputy Mayor, possibly I'm not satisfied with the answer that you're giving with regards to the triatic matter. Do you not think it seems a bit hypocritical for Bonzung Eugene Modisa rather out here as matters of his own that he needs to attend to?
I think maybe I can get a short response from both the mayor and the deputy mayor. It goes back to the press briefing that was held by the ANC in relation to the CFO. One of the commentary or perhaps calls that they made was there's a lot of focus on political corruption, politicians who are involved in corruption, and often, you know, there's not enough attention paid to the corruption that's committed by officials, and the officials should be put to the same scrutiny as politicians. I just want to know what systems is the city going to put in place, perhaps scrutinize all your officials, especially those who hold strategic, powerful positions, so that in future you're not found wanting with pens down. You know what is happening in your house. You do not have scandals such as what you've heard at the Madlanga, so that you know proper vetting, lifestyle audits, all of that, so that you know who might have their hands in the cookie jar. What systems are you putting in place?
Brighton here from Netwerk 24 again. My question is to the Deputy Mayor again, also in his capacity as MMC for Finance. 3 billion rand for watchman services over 3 years just on one contract. That must be a very, very concerning figure to you, Deputy Mayor. Will anything be done if found that that contract was irregular to recover that money for the city so that it can go to these service delivery issues within the city of Tshwane? Thank you.
Yeah, you might catch up. There's a light. Oh,
Considering that there's been so many coalition governments, so most of the senior managers that are there were appointed by different administration. Are you able to say there's a healthy relationship between them and the executive? Any sense of tension? And
Sorry, just go back.
the
Between who?
relationship between the senior managers and the executive,
Oh, okay.
considering that most of you were not appointed by yourself.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
And are there any investigations happening, especially with the issues that the DA keep raising relating to the deputy mayor? They keep saying that we are hoping the SIU, the Hawks, that just confirm which reputable institutions are investigating this.
oh, thank you very much. Alpha, you said it appears hypocritical. I think you are playing with words, English words there. Let me perhaps assist you. The process was not started yesterday. There was a forensic investigation which I cooperated with. Number 2, the nefarious DA, which are struggling with nostalgia because we removed them from government, they went to public protector. And in addition to that, they went to SAPS, Brook Lane Police Station, they opened the case. All of these exercises proved me no wrong. That is why the executive mayor say, we have not seen any irregularity. Remember they said there's a corruption in the process, the tax clearance was invalid, all of those were proven wrong. So there's nothing hypocritical here. And then in terms of the investigation, I don't know whether, you know, in our inception mayoral committee meeting, we said we are going to conduct lifestyle audit on all officials of the city, and we are doing that. We were waiting for the city manager to finish that. We requested him to give us those that are done now so that we can act upon that. The consequence management was established by ourselves as this executive. That's the work that we are doing. And on the 3 billion rands, we have cut to the bone in terms of security. When it came into our power, actually there was a tender which was supposed to be awarded on infrastructure of all the city properties. That was hardware and software, meaning we are going towards technology. But unfortunately, it was cancelled. That's why we are investigating even on that front. But as we are speaking now, we have said, Space was here presenting a 59 million rands budget for Watchman said. We said no ourselves. And he didn't say that in Madlanga. I wonder why. But he came here and we said, no, we can't afford that money. That is why we are cutting down. And we are aware of the fact that the money that we are using for security services is a lot. But again, the insurance is telling us we are under-secured in terms of insurance. So when you make a claim, the first thing that the insurance do is to assess your security on the property. That is what we are doing. So we're balancing the act, like the executive mayor is saying. So the senior managers, we've got a relationship with them. Actually, we didn't come here for them because we are not brought by them. We are brought by council ourselves. We are voted in. They were employed. Whoever employed them is not our baby. Ours is to work with them. And we have extended olive branch in terms of working with them. We are in good terms with them. I don't know if they have something else against us. But honestly speaking, none of the executive here have ever fought with any of the officials. But we know from time to time, we hear the nuances that some are dealing with the opposition, which is not our baby. That is why everything that we do is transparent, and we are accountable for everything that we are doing. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I think the question from Alpha is sorted. Patricia, in terms of the political corruption and the focus, it's fair to focus on the public representatives because we are the bridge between the public and the institution. If they are to hold anybody accountable, they don't know the CFO, they didn't appoint the CFO, but they voted for us and our political parties, and we promised them that we're gonna serve them. So when there's something that happens in the institution, they won't say, but Thabo Baloyi, they must come here and account, because that's not how the relationship works. So it's fair that there must be extra scrutiny on us as political representatives. But I will tell you, there's no corruption that will be done by a political leader without officials. The MFMA chucks us out of the procurement process altogether. So if I benefit there, it means that I had to work with at least 8 officials in the value chain for me to benefit from a tender. So what then means, and we have seen this with the work of investigating the UIFWs, when we started, the DA administration left us with almost 13 billion rand balance on UIFWs that they've not investigated. Within a space of 6 months, about 12 billion of that was investigated, was given to MPEC, and the MPEC chair is here to process. And today we're having, I think, about 6 confidential reports from MPEC, continuing with the UIFWs. What you see there is the manipulation in the various committees, where officials want to manipulate so that they are preferred bidders, like we said with the outcome of the probity on the security tender that was advertised. And what we're doing about it, the legislation guides us what to do. One of it is that when there is an instance of UIFW, it must be investigated, it must be processed, and the city manager has a special delegation to deal with it even outside the council processes. So that is happening. The Consequence Management Committee, together with the Executive Audit Tracking Committee, where we are looking at the findings of the AG, is looking at what is it that was raised by the AG? How are we responding to it? Where we said recover, because MPEC can recommend to say recover or write off. Where we said recover, are we recovering at the pace in which we're supposed to? And unfortunately, we are not at this stage. The other thing is what you were mentioning. When you appoint a senior manager, there are processes, even a junior official, there are processes. You must vet the person you get, whether the qualifications, whether the criminal past. Particularly the Section 56 have security clearance. Gareth has a security clearance that was issued last year. The question is, what does it mean if what we heard from Madlanga is true? What does that security clearance that we believe in? We believe if you have a security clearance, that means you are above reproach. But this is the way we find ourselves. But all of them are vetted, they have security clearance, and they continue to disclose their interest. And so of course the investigation as issues are being raised by the members of the public, by the various councillors and political parties, we do investigate as well. So the work is ongoing. The lifestyle audit being part of it. Then, Brayton, in terms of 3 billion rand on watchman services, it talks to what we are saying. We are not keep feeding the beast. If you're looking at our losses due to theft and vandalism and the amount that we have spent on watchman services, the residents of the city must take that very seriously. Because we say we can't give you street lights forever because we fix today, 2 days later the street light is off due to theft and vandalism, but there are billions that have been spent on watchman services. This contract, 3 billion, I think is just the minimum. From 2016, this contract, it went to then the court said no, continue. We will have to look beyond the sound bites on that contract. And the mayors that were sitting in this chair must also stop grandstanding. They must go and say to the public, what did they do during their time? Because what we are dealing with, these random amounts from 2023, from 2024, who was sitting in this chair then? So holding people accountable, just because you're no longer a mayor doesn't mean you are not accountable to the public, especially if you still want to come and sit here. So the work that
He won't come. He won't come. You must forget he won't come.
So the issue of the watchman services, I want us to use it as a case study or as a template. And that will go with the water tankers once the SIU come back to us. And it's going to go beyond to the waste trucks. Because those are the biggest line items that we are spending on. And the question is, are we getting value for money for the people of Tshwane? And we're going to answer those. It may not be now, but we're going to answer those and we'll give feedback. And we're going to make decisions. I think for me, the issue of the relationship between MECO and EXCO, we are their leaders. We don't want to be friends with them. We are their leaders. We represent over 4 million residents of Tshwane here. We don't need friendship from EXCO. What we require from them, the contract that they've accepted, the business plans that they've signed to say this is what we will deliver on, they must deliver on it. And they must not be corrupt, and they must do the work. We fight in this boardroom. You say we don't fight. No, we fight in this boardroom. Every Friday when we have service delivery war room, there is one random person who did not have done what they were expected to do or not prioritize what communities need. We fight with those people. At MECO, we push back on people wanting to continue to be comfortable in their positions at the expense of the people of Tshwane. We fight about that. There's nothing wrong with it. We are not their friends, we are their leaders. But I think what is important is that when you deal with an organizational culture, which when we started, AG said to us, the organizational culture here doesn't allow for accountability, consequence management, and performance management. And we said to the officials, we don't do the work. We don't draft SOPs and we don't design record management models here. It's you who must do the work. And when you don't do the work, we're going to take serious exceptions to that. And there's been intense debates in this boardroom because we don't want to sit here and pretend that we are friends as if now we must massage each other's egos. We're here to work. So the relationship is that of between the EXCO and the leaders of the institution. That's all. There's nothing further to that. We're not looking to extend that relationship. Because that's the professional relationship that we inculcated. There's no holy cow here. There's no department that don't get to be touched. And the MMCs, we are on one side and the officials are on the other side. Because the moment we start blurring the lines, we're going to have serious problems. So I think for me, we just need to understand that a professional city of Tshwane, which we want, is not going to be built outside this institution in corners and in cigar lounges. It's going to be built in boardrooms like this, and we must hold each other accountable to do that.
Thanks, colleagues. Thanks, Ian. Thanks, MMCs.
Are you still having meetings?
Thanks, guys, for coming.
Are you having? Are you good?
Yeah, I'm fine. You have done very well. Especially the last.
No, I want to see who was coughing when I said cigar lounge.
Chuck Norris.
Yeah.
Long time. Where have you been? I'm coming from the commission. I'm there.
Just next door.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. And it's worse for me because remember I'm also representing for Capricorn. But are you aware that I can I'm back. What am I doing now?
Yeah, she was remixing to now it's remixing. Shut. I want to you all.